In the coming decade, cancer will replace heart disease as the leading cause of death in the United States. Throughout the world, cancer is a disease that frightens everybody, but disparities for people in low-income and medically underserved communities do exist. According to the American Cancer Society, African Americans are more likely to develop and die from cancer than any other racial or ethnic group. If that's not disturbing news, consider this. While a simple screening test can save your life, many people in these communities, including parts of New York's Harlem and the Bronx, are never tested at all. But a revolutionary intervention program called Patient Navigation is making a dramatic difference. Many cancers are now being caught in time, patients are receiving treatment, and lives are being saved. As we discovered, this community is learning that although a diagnosis may show cancer, there's often no need to die.
I was just lucky, that they found it when they found it. It was very, very young. I'm glad that I followed through for the past 24 years to have it done, to have that yearly mammogram. Because had I not done so, I probably would have had invasive breast cancer.
I became a patient navigator because back in 1990, Dr. Freeman started what's called the Cancer Control Center of Harlem. And he was looking for individuals like myself to help patients overcome the barriers that's preventing them from getting treatment.
Dr. Harold Friedman is the medical director of the Ralph Lauren Center, a partnership between the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and North General Hospital. It opened its doors in Harlem in May of 2003, and there was a celebration in the community.
Come on, y'all. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Dr. Freeman conducted 2 studies with breast cancer patients. The first was before he started Patient Navigation, and the second was several years after the program started. In the first study, half were incurable, but in the second study, only 15% were incurable.
Now, the thing that's remarkable about this is that we did not change the level of poverty. We did not change the race and ethnicity of these people. We changed the system.
On this side of New York City's 96th Street, your chances of being screened in time for cancer to save your life are fairly high. But north of 96th Street in areas like Harlem, El Barrio, and the Bronx, statistics show that your chances drop significantly. What was your inspiration for the Patient Navigator? How did you come up with the idea?
When I first came to Harlem, I saw women coming in with very, very late breast cancer. Sometimes, tragically, the breasts were totally replaced by the cancer. I couldn't see the breast, just the cancer. And this happened, this was a very, very compelling and frightening experience for me as a young doctor coming to cure cancer in Harlem, seeing patients that I really had no answer for. That bothered me a great deal. And actually, it stimulated me to set up something in Harlem that works very well, and I'll tell you what it is. It's called Patient Navigation. If we're going to solve the problem of some racial groups not doing as well, then we need to aim our guns correctly. It may be disproportionate poverty, disproportionate lack of insurance, some cultural things that stimulate the incidence of cancer. And see, Harlem has to be seen as a metaphor for many other communities throughout the country where there are poor people, and there are black people, there are Hispanic people, there are poor white people who experience these kind of problems in certain geographic areas. Essentially, the patient navigation intent is to eliminate any barriers that occur between the time that there's a positive finding, like an abnormal mammogram in a patient, and the resolution of the finding.
Tell me a little bit about your experience working with a patient navigator.
It's a support system, okay? I think it's a support system that everyone needs to walk through.
They come in with fear. Come on, everybody is fearful of this disease. But a lot of time it's a financial, okay, I've been diagnosed with cancer. I don't have the money. That's a fear right there. I'm never going to get cured. I'm going to die because I don't have the money.
Have you ever worked with someone that you couldn't help?
We're not going to turn you away. My job is very important. I hope that one day the patient navigation program will be in all medical facility, not just for cancer, but anywhere that patient need to be told what's going on with them. They need somebody to hold their hands, not so much as a social worker, because that's in every facility, but on a human side, culturally sensitive, somebody who will call and say, I have an appointment today, but I can't make. I don't feel like coming over here. I've gone to patient homes to bring them to the center. I've actually gone, ring the doorbell and say, okay, come, I'll walk you over.
Cynthia Allen is a passionate advocate for cancer prevention.
When I went into the doctor's office, he was on the phone, and he says, he asked me to step into his office, and he'll be off the phone shortly. So then he comes in and he says, Miss Allen, do you have someone you can call? I had cancer 12 years ago, and my cancer, basically, I had 2 different kinds, and I survived. So I'm here to say it's not a death sentence. I think it was important to have that mammogram. I was doing it anyhow, but if I hadn't, then I would not be here. But I had a bilateral mastectomy, which means basically they removed my breasts, and then I had reconstruction, which is basically they gave me a what they call a translap, where they used my stomach to build my breasts. And this is what the results were. So,
Feel comfortable with them?
oh, please, they're mine. It's my stomach. The only thing that happens is when I get hungry, my breast, growls.
Would you say there's any disparities in terms of access for insurance for people in low-income communities like Harlem?
In the early part of the patient navigation experience, in the early 1990s, we did patient interviews, and they told us that the principal barrier was that they didn't have insurance, or they did not understand that they deserved to have insurance. There are many people, for example, who qualify for Medicaid but don't know it. But a system has to be created to educate them about it. Then the patients told us, too, that they had communication issues, language, linguistics, speaking a different language, or having a physician or a nurse who was unable to communicate with them in their own language and cultural concerns. We found that people get lost within the system.
I think outreach plays a great role in getting to people in the community. There are the churches and their health fair that's being performed, and just going out there.
And what do you think would happen if you weren't here, if you weren't part of this, if the patient navigation program wasn't instituted back in 1990?
I think a lot of patients would have lost their lives, not just only to the disease, but to the fact that they fall through the cracks, as it say, and because of this, they're not able to continue with their treatment.
Help may be coming to Harlem, but in the Bronx, awareness and availability of early detection is still a struggle. The pain of knowing that a simple test could have saved her mother's life empowered Anna York, the American Cancer Society Regional Director for the Bronx, to help increase awareness of cancer in her community.
I was in church when my phone rang, and it was on the other line was the doctor to tell me that my mom was dead. Painful.
Do you remember how you reacted when you were in the church?
Time stood still. My own mom. I mean, that she died from colon cancer, the one cancer that you don't need to die from, because if you have a colonoscopy and they find a polyp, they could extract that polyp and it doesn't get a chance to become cancerous. So I have seen stories and I have felt the pain very personally as it relates to late diagnosis.
Anna York showed us what to look for during self-breast examinations.
We Impart that information, that knowledge, that awareness, that early detection saves lives, that they need to get these tests at a certain age, that they need to advocate on their behalf. We have saved those lives.
While women are starting to get the message and are getting themselves screened for cancer, prevention messages don't seem to be reaching men.
Guys don't sit around and talk about cancer. Talk about a lot of things. Cancer's not one of them. No.
It never occurred to me to get screened for cancer.
Men?
Yeah.
Macho?
We have not been as successful in convincing men to come in for these tests, but we're reaching out and have very strong educational programs now to bring men into the system.
According to a recent study, more Americans will die of cancer in the next 14 months than have died in every war the nation has ever fought combined.
You know, I just think the important message is you don't die all the time if it's caught early. I think the message is go get a mammogram. I think the message is go get a screening. You know, it only takes 15 minutes. 15 minutes out of your life to save your life. That's the message.
There's an advertisement that we use called Mi Vida that says, if you love your family so much, give them what they want the most, which is you. I can't put it any better in a better way.